Trinidad and Tobago, there are two pieces of information I want to bring to you this morning because we're going to be addressing the white elephant in the room today. Many of you remember AV Oil and Gas, a company that was embroiled in a scandal relating to fake oil and Petrotrin, resulting in the closure of Petrotrin and the loss of thousands of jobs in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, that company was awarded $100 million of taxpayers' money in damages, and that company has now been awarded a 10-year contract with Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited to be now engaging in business with the government of Trinidad and Tobago and being paid again with taxpayers' dollars. Secondly, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has engaged in the destruction of food crops in Felicity in Chaguanas. When people in Trinidad and Tobago are starving, when food prices are escalating, the government has destroyed food crops without giving the farmers notice to harvest their produce. Let us address this white elephant in the room today. Why is it under the PNM or under any other government in Trinidad and Tobago, the African community in Trinidad and Tobago has never been able to prosper economically? Why is there no growth of black businesses in Trinidad and Tobago? And before you tell me that I may not speak for the black community, forget the fact that I have African blood in my bloodline. Forget that. Let me draw to your attention that the decision makers in Trinidad and Tobago who affect your lives and those lives of your children, they are not African. They are the Colm Mbut, who is seeking to implement property tax to further impoverish the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They are the Stuart Young, who is engaged in all these energy deals, including the AV Oil and Gas. There is the Faris Alwari, who keeps changing the laws to further oppress the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Rowley is an absentee prime minister, so he is just the face, the black face that the white 1% and the brown 1% needs to have before you to convince you that it's your time, that it's the Africans that are in power in Trinidad and Tobago. But let me tell you something. The only people who are in power in Trinidad and Tobago is the 1%. Because the PNM is a party that is financed, constructed, and managed by the 1%. Now, under many governments, we have seen no plans, we have seen no progress with the black community in Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM has now almost destroyed GATE, which means that the education which would have been provided for your children to be able to break that cycle of poverty is now at risk. It means that you are no longer going to be able to afford to send your children to universities so that they can get a good education, they can get good jobs, and they can take themselves out of poverty, ergo the family. So we have, and look, I will tell you something, just in case anybody wants to classify this as racist. Doesn't matter to me because I know it's not. When I started off on social media, it was not to win a popularity contest. Neither was it to become the Prime Minister or any leader of any people of Trinidad and Tobago. I am quite happy doing what I am doing. So before we go off on that tangent, let me explain something to you. The only ethnic group in Trinidad and Tobago that does not have an equal economic seat at the table is the African community. That is a fact. The Indian community has always been supported by the UNC, has always been supported by the Indian NGOs and so on. The Syrian community has always been supported by the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM in particular. The African community has always been a token, a political football between political parties in Trinidad and Tobago. And now you are seeing this government, the PNM, blatantly proving that the African community is just a means to an end for them. Trinidad and Tobago, in order for us to be able to have a better standard of living, in order for us to reduce crime, and in order for us to prosper as a nation, every single ethnic group is supposed to have an equal seat at the table and an equal access and right to the opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago. When you have one sector of a population benefiting consistently from government to government of all of the opportunities in a country, you will realize that crime will never be able to be controlled and that poverty and the burden on our healthcare system will continue to perpetuate. Trinidad and Tobago, I am telling you this morning. Agree with me or not, it is my opinion and my right to state my opinion. Governments come and they go, and the African community in Trinidad and Tobago is never given that equal treatment like they promised to give. Look at what Keith Rowley has done. A company that has been accused of fraud has now been awarded $100 million and a 10-year contract with a state entity. The destruction of food crops when we have families starving in this country, and not 1 cent has been put into the development of the African community and small businesses and for single mothers to be able to send their children to school and to get an education and break the cycle of poverty. But Trinidad and Tobago, that is not a problem that you will see happening because we are blinded by the division between brown and black, white and black, and racism. And we're not seeing as a whole that in order for every single person in this country to be able to enjoy a good lifestyle, every single person must have the same equal opportunity. Governments come and they go, but that is never happening, and it has never happened in Trinidad and Tobago where we have seen equality across the board for everybody. Let's address that white elephant in the room and let's ask, why is government past, or why are governments past and present so afraid of empowering the black people in our country? Why are they so afraid of giving that economic power to the black community in our country? Let's talk about that, but it's a conversation we're not ready to have. Trinidad and Tobago, you think about that and let me know if you feel that everybody is really treated equally under every government in Trinidad and Tobago. It's your country, you decide.